In today's segment, we're going to be talking about the years between World War I and World War II. Please remember that you can always find these on my YouTube channel to make sure that you're checking your Edmodo accounts for any assignments and that you're also visiting my website to keep update on what is due and what is coming up in the calendar. The biggest factor leading into World War II was really the end of World War I, and the way that World War I was fought led to a lot of uncertainty in the war in the world following World War I. There were a number of things that happened. First thing, there were revolutions in science in numerous areas, in physics, in psychology. The first person is Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein came up with an idea called the theory of relativity. And he gave his theory based on that things can change, that space and time and light and all these things are changing. They're not bound to laws, as Newton explained in his laws of motion and gravity, that things can change over time. And so this actually changed behavior and thought for different aspects of all life. People no longer really looked at staying one way, but looked at how other aspects could change. The other one is Sigmund Freud. Freud was a psychologist. He looked at the fact that people used an unconscious brain, that human behavior is irrational, that it actually, while it tries to use logic and reason, it still has its almost animalistic needs and will change for survival or individual needs. Lastly, we're talking about Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche believed in the individual, the strength and the achievement of the individual at its greatest. And a lot of people bought into this, and this increased a lot of nationalistic attitudes, especially over in Europe, especially in a place called Germany. Hitler was a big believer in Nietzsche and kind of overused his concepts to Hitler's own personal rewards. The other thing about the arts, the other thing about the time period after World War I was a revolution in the arts. Literature, art, music even, reflected the problems and the concerns of the times. A lot of it looked back on the brutality of World War I. Numerous novels came out, like All Quiet on the Western Front, that showed the brutality of warfare and showed just the insignificance of the human in a large war like that, and really reflected the uncertainty and the fear and the concerns that people had for where the world was going in the 1920s. However, there are some advances. Women in Great Britain and in America during World War I will have new roles as the industry movement had come in, industrialization had come in. Women are going to take the jobs of men because the men were fighting. And because of that, they're going to gain new roles for themselves during that time period, and they're going to gain new rights. Women in Great Britain and women in America will fight for the what's called suffrage, which is the right to vote. So the women's suffrage movement will go on in these areas in the 19-teens, and women will be given the right to vote, and they'll have changing lifestyles in the way that they lived and the way that they're respected and the new opportunities that they have for them because of this change in roles and the rights that they have. Technology will change. The automobile had been around, vehicles have been around. Henry Ford and his assembly line will change production not only for the automobile, but also for other aspects of manufacturing as well. But not only does automobile change the way we travel, but it changes the way we live. We build roads to connect people. People are connected faster and greater. We have shopping centers that come about. We have gas stations. We have hotels that ultimately end up being built for the motor, and so they become motor hotels or motels. So even little things like that change. The airplane changed the way that we travel, but also changed the way that we thought. We started to dream a little bit more. We started to dream about the future and what's possible. We started having transatlantic flight with a guy named Charles Lindbergh. He's able to go transatlantic, okay, across the Atlantic Ocean. And that was something that had never been done before. That was a great achievement for the world. Radios and movies begin to strengthen in numbers. We now will have presidents that will give speeches. President Roosevelt gives his fireside chats that updates the nation. Movies will bring the world closer in what we call globalization. And that means that the world is more connected to one another much quicker. So now we can learn, in America, we can learn about what's going on in Germany. We can learn about what's going on in Japan a lot easier, and it's a lot easier to get it and to learn about it. Unfortunately, though, there was major concerns in the economies of the world. The Great War left Europe bankrupt. $338 billion it cost, when $1 billion really wasn't something talked about in the 19 teens. It didn't really happen that you have that much money, but that's how much the war cost. The Treaty of Versailles and the war creates new countries and it creates new governments, and that creates problems because it creates new democracies in places that didn't have democracies, so they didn't know how to really run them. But it also takes areas where cultures clash, where governments clash, and these new political groups will try to gain power and lose it, and another political group came in there. So it creates a lot of instability in these areas, and people aren't really sure what's going to go on. So insecurity is going to grow a lot, and because of that, the economy does not grow. Now, Germany, in particular, had it really bad. They're paying off reparations following the Treaty of Versailles. Their economy is almost non-existent because of the problems of World War I and what was left out of it. Following the Treaty of Versailles, Germany establishes what they call their Weimar Republic, which is basically a way to have a democracy. Germany is a country that never had a history of democracy, of voting. They always had strong individuals, or even back to ancient times when it was just tribes. There were strong tribes, strong families. So having people vote was something really new to them, and they didn't know how to do it, and ultimately it becomes a failure. And a lot of people in Germany blame the problems of Germany on the Weimar Republic and on the Treaty of Versailles. One of the real problems that the Weimar Republic did was, for the economy to try to save it, instead of making reforms, instead of changing things, they just printed more money. And this creates something we call inflation, which means that the value of the dollar goes down. The more dollars you have, the less value you have for an individual dollar. So people are paying millions of what we would call dollars, but what they call marks, for bread. Wheelbarrow full of bread to go buy it. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. Kids will use it to build blocks. They'll use it to wallpaper walls. It becomes kind of funny just how little the money is valued. America is going to step in. A businessman by the name of Charles Dawes is going to come up with the Dawes Plan, and America will start giving Germany loans, millions of dollars of loans. And the way America looks at this is that if we can help Germany, Germany can help us, and it can help Europe. If Germany has a strong economy, other people are going to have a strong economy. So America is going to have loans for Germany to help out. Now, they're also going to help out with the reparation payments so that kind of ease the tension found in Germany. And this works. It really helps out for a time. In America, however, and around the world, the economy is still going to decline. Tuesday, October 29th of 1929, the United States stock market will crash. Okay? The prices of the stocks will go down, so the businesses go down, people lose millions of dollars. And this sets off a chain reaction around the world because America is not able to help out as much. Their businesses are not able to export and import. And America tries to help itself by putting a tariff or a tax on imports so that people buy American goods. Unfortunately, what that did was it prevented other people from buying American goods. And so businesses didn't thrive. So America suffered from that. And when America suffers from that, the world also suffered too. Now, European economies and American economy will slowly get back to strength, but only with governmental reforms. And that basically means that the government steps in and they start providing programs to help the economy get back. Works programs where they build roads and bridges and airports and things like that. And slowly the economies will start to recover, but we're still in a depression at that time. That's going to end our segment for now. When we return, we'll talk about the build-up to World War II and how the global depression leads to new ideas, new concepts, new leaders taking over in Europe and creating the beginning of World War II. Make sure you're checking your Edmodo account for assignments, that you're checking my website for dates and other notes that you may need, and that you're using YouTube to finalize these videos.